Marketing Stir podcast by Starista, probably the most entertaining marketing podcast you're going to put in your ears. I'm Jared Walls, associate producer and Starista's creative copy manager. The goal of this podcast is to chat with industry leaders to get their take on the current challenges of the market, but also have a little fun along the way. In this episode, Vincent and Ajay catch up with Amin Makhani, Vice President of Growth at Bento Box. He explains what exactly it means to be a Vice President of Growth and how search has become a powerful factor in identifying clientele. Vincent and Amin discuss their shared stand-up comedy endeavors. Ajay celebrates an anniversary, and Vincent rides shotgun. Give it a listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It is another episode of the Marketing Stir. I am Vincent Petrofessa, your host, the Vice President of B2B Products here at Starista. Starista, you know us, identity marketing company, our own data sets, B2B, B2C. We help you market to those data sets, get you new customers. We take in your first party data. Maybe it's broken, maybe it's garbage, and we make it better. We append attributes to it. If it's fragmented, we cleanse it. We also have our own DSP, Adster, Execute Media. Email me, vincent@starista.com. That is how confident I am in our services. I just gave you my email address. Also, I'm confident, as I always say, in this next person. My co-host, he's riding shotgun, or I'm riding shotgun to him. Either way, we're in the same vehicle. My CEO, Commander-in-Chief, Mr. Ajay Gupta. What's up, Ajay?
Vincent, this is actually a special one. So we started, our first recorded podcast was released on April 30th. Mm-hmm. So this is actually about 6 months in.
Wow.
Just 2 days before. But yeah, 6 months in, I think we have published 30 podcasts and we've probably recorded about over 50 so far. So quite the pandemic experiment this has become. And unfortunately, looks like we had the highest day of cases yesterday, so it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately not. You're also saying that because you're in Texas. Texas is usually its own animal. That's why everything's bigger in Texas. Apparently, even Corona cases. We once held that title here in Manhattan. We were not proud of that, as we often are proud New Yorkers. I was not proud of that. Only moving companies were proud of that, as they have moved and made money throughout this pandemic. But yeah, hopefully it flattens. But, also that's why we put out the Marketing Stir. We always wanted to do a podcast together. You and I always wanted to do something together. We met 10 years ago. We're now working together. And we had this time. We said, let's put a podcast together. And I also think that more people are listening to us because of the downtime. Their lives are not as busy traveling, which is why we now have over 46,000. By the time this comes out, maybe 56,000 viewers and listeners to our podcast. So we do appreciate that. And that even makes this episode even more special. I have a lot in common with this next guest. And I realized it in a sort of creepyish, stalkerish way. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm very happy to have this next guest on, ladies and gentlemen. He is the Vice President of Growth at Bento Box. You've heard of Bento Box. If you haven't, we're going to talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, Amin Makhani. What's going on, Amin?
Hey, how's it going? That's a fun intro.
That's why I'm here. That's it. I just do the intro and I leave.
Yeah, that's good though. That's what we need. We need an intro and then a long monologue from me.
Yes.
40, 50 minutes of just, me reading the Mets schedule or something.
Exactly. Some people think it's a TED Talk, so you wouldn't be the first one.
TED Talks don't do intros like that. I'm trying to be like at a basketball game, and that point guard, number 7. That's what I try to do. It's a special time. We try to make it special. You're taking time out to talk to us, and we love it. I mean, for those of you listening and those of you watching, tell people about Bento Box.
Yeah. Well, we're a hospitality SaaS platform. We started with websites. So we have a website platform for restaurants that's intuitive and easy to use. And all the pieces of it are restaurant specific, like menus or the bio section. We offer, and then we offer e-commerce solutions too, like if you want to do online ordering or you have catering or you want to have a store where you sell some merch. And our CEO kind of thought about the website as like a little bit of a bento box for restaurant, where they have these different compartments, different pieces they need on their website that is kind of unique to restaurants. And we've been building that platform up over time. And now we work with 6,000 restaurants all over the world. And we have them using, we have 5-6 different products that restaurants use, purchase from us.
That's awesome. And then before I get into what you do there and your title, because your title is a title that has been, hasn't been around for many years, but growth is a new title. We'll get to that. But let's talk about how I discovered what we have in common. Let's talk about that. So in preparation for talking to Amin, we wanted to have him on and we wanted to have Bento Box on, of course. We go to LinkedIn and I saw Amin holding a microphone. Not everyone has a microphone in their picture holding it. So I was like, okay, either he's a speaker or maybe this guy's a comedian like myself and as well as a speaker. So I went to Facebook and I looked him up. I don't think I've ever looked up any other guest on Facebook. And sure enough, we have 147 people in common. And you are also a comedian on the New York City scene. We probably run into each other about 46 times, but we have never realized it, right? We never met before this.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I'm sure we met somewhere at Grizzly Pear or something on McDougal Street, I bet.
Yeah.
I say I'm a comedian, but since the pandemic started, I haven't gotten on a stage for a long time. So one funny thing was I have a daughter, 18 months old. And,
oh, nice. Congrats, man.
Yeah. And just, it's tiring. You're a dad, it's tiring. And I just finally, after hosting an open mic for 10 years, about 2 weeks before the pandemic kind of shut everything down, I was like, all right, I'm giving it up. I'm handing my open mic over to somebody and I'm calling it quits. It was a good run while it lasted. And then I was like, I'm going to just give another couple weeks while I transition into somebody else. But then the whole thing shut down. And so I felt like, well, somebody was saying something to me. Hey, your jokes aren't that good. You need to hang it up one way or another.
Yep, the world. And for those of you, I also hosted an open mic for 3 years at the Greenwich Village Comedy Club and love the Greenwich Village Comedy Club. But hosting an open mic is exhausting because you see the same people every week. Now you might get people who are kind of doing it as a pro mixed in there, but it's basically the same other people just trying to get stage time. And oh my goodness, there's only so much of the same act you can hear every single time. You get people. My open mic was free. It was exhausting. So that also prepares you for fatherhood, being patient. It sure did. 10 years. Jesus.
This is the truth. I'll tell you. I say 10 years, but it was about 8 years, 7 years.
It just felt like 10 years. It could have been 1 year and it would feel like 10 years.
Better. 10 years sounds so much better than 7.5 years.
I don't know. Not when it comes to the open mic. It's 10 years of anything else, right? It's our company's been around for 10 years, right? Open mic. Oh my goodness. We'll get into that later. But tell us about this new title. You went from open mic host to vice president. I'm kidding now. So now you're the vice president of growth at Bento Box. We just talked about it on a couple podcasts ago, and recently, the growth. This is a new title that you've been hearing. It hasn't been around. It's like big data was years ago. Demand generation.
Internet of Things.
Yeah, Internet of Things. Tell us about your role as vice president of growth.
I think this is my take on it, and I think also different companies have defined the growth role differently, and so in our company, it's really growth marketing. And growth marketing and brand marketing are kind of two different I don't know how to describe it, kind of not silos, but like two different
pillars.
Yeah. And so this is my take, is that over the last 10, 15 years, there's been a lot more data available in marketing. Online advertising is a lot more data driven. There's more technical components of, like you guys, you talk about a DSP and a third-party data bringing in, with cleansing it, and there's like especially like B2B, high volume B2B. There's a lot of work that's a little bit more technical than a traditional marketer used to, and that's where I've seen the growth role kind of exist. Is that it's this kind of data-driven marketing that's more focused on funnel metrics than it is maybe on brand aesthetic. And so we have a VP of marketing and then a VP of growth at our company, and we both report up to the CEO, and that's how it's structured here. I've seen it structured differently in other places, but that's, I think also a little bit of it is the marketer marketing their own work, right? Demand gen sounds very a cog in a machine, you know, a layer, a component that is important but not too important, and it sits, you know, between marketing and sales, and but growth has this positive connotation that it's an engine for the business, and so that was a little bit of me spinning up that marketing, but I think, you know, kind of independent of me, other people were spinning up the same thing, and so now I've seen that kind of spread, but yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about, you know, most restaurants are struggling right now, right? I think pretty much all of them. So how is that affecting your role and the company at large?
Yeah, well, I think one thing I'd like to say though is that there is a bit of a bifurcation. Is that not all restaurants are struggling. Some restaurants are doing better than they were before the pandemic. There is a move of meals being consumed off premise more so than on premise. So there's a shift from dining in to eating takeout and delivery. So we offer online ordering as a additional software for the website, and restaurants have seen a real need for that product because Seamless or Grubhub, Postmates will take 20-30%, 40% of your order value, and that is, when your business is already struggling, it's hard to give that money up. And so having first party ordering on your website where you don't pay commission to anybody is a huge gain. So we're seeing a big lift there. So I think the fine dining kind of restaurants where the experience is very lived at the restaurant and it's hard to recreate that, I think it's very difficult for them. Or restaurants that were very events driven, that they had a lot of corporate events or birthday parties or that kind of stuff. I think it's hard for them. I think the more fast casual, I think the one like I don't know, there's a company called Factus that does credit card spending, and if you look on what they're showing is that like pizza restaurants are doing way better than they ever were before the pandemic. Wingstop is like, I think it's like 30% year over year. So there is this kind of bifurcation in the restaurant type and that's going on now. And we're trying to serve everybody. You know, we have an event management product that we're making it free for the rest of the year for restaurants that use it. And because we're seeing restaurants start to have smaller events now, that 10, 15, 20 person event that they can have of like a birthday party or a delayed bar mitzvah, that kind of thing. And so we're trying to help them out there. But it's a challenging time, but it's also a time of what do they say? Like a sea change of technology use. So you're seeing that some owners were very slow to adapt technology, and now you're seeing this big shift of being able to leverage technology in a really great way to keep the business afloat.
And what's sort of the geographic coverage for the company?
Oh, for us, so you know we have restaurants in all 50 states, and I think maybe another 15, 20 countries. But I bet like the mix is like 90% US. 10% abroad. But each day, you know, we were very heavy New York. If you would have looked at our concentration 3 years ago, we might have been like 50% New York City, 40% New York City. Okay. But today, as we've grown, we have 6,000 restaurants, and it's just, it is a good just cross section of the United States.
And I mean, talk to me about, we always like to ask this question, how you got into marketing, right? Did you go to school for it, or were you, I was studying political science and then I was like,
Mhm.
nope, I want to do marketing. Tell
Sure.
us how you got into
Yeah,
the
yeah.
industry.
This is a fun story, actually. So I graduated college in 2008, and I studied economics and mathematics, and I was going to work on Wall Street and do some, I don't know, some sort of subprime mortgage arbitrage. But then, basically, the minute I graduated, they were like, "Nope, that's not allowed anymore. That's not good stuff," and those jobs kind of disappeared. So I was just traveling with friends, and I saw a Facebook ad that said, "Do you like math problems?" So I clicked on it, and it was for this job at a company called Yext, and and it was a marketing job, but it was supposed to be a data-driven marketing job. And so I just dropped my resume, and I had a call with them. The guys were real smart, all from Harvard and Duke and MIT. And so I was like, okay, well, let's give it a try. And I went there, and I didn't really think I was going to be a marketer. I thought I was going to maybe spend a year or two, wait for the economy to bounce back, try to do something on Wall Street. But I really enjoyed it. I got all of the kind of quantitative needs I had to do in my day-to-day job, and I got it out in marketing. I wasn't expecting it, and I really enjoyed it. And also, I think there's a psychological component of marketing that's really interesting. So there's a creative, but also, left brain, right brain, both combinations that you don't get in a lot of jobs.
Yeah, a lot of people describe it as art and science, right? It's kind of, yeah, the creative aspect, but there's science to it. It is interesting. Yeah, you're not the first person with a mathematics background to kind of, we've got the rarity. I mean, is like I studied marketing and I'm in marketing now. It's kind of the rarity is like that. We've had someone who was a police officer and then got into marketing and then political science. There's some philosophy, but yes, a few mathematics kind of because they like that data aspect of it. Where in your career were you? And again, we have a crack team of producers here. When in your career did you just like travel for 5 months and was just like, I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah,
just do
yeah.
that? Certainly not now with a child. I'll tell you that now. So when was that period of your life?
Yeah, yeah. I worked at Yext, which is a software company in New York, from when they were at the very tiny company, 30 people kind of thing, and then I was there for almost 8 years. It grew to be a public business, and so I don't know, for those that follow that kind of stuff, is if you're an early employee at a software business that later goes public, there's usually some sort of financial outcome for you that's positive. And so that happened. And at that point, I was like, all right, well, I have always wanted to travel. I had visited once. I'd gone to Japan by myself on a trip, and I met a few people that were on around the world trips, and they were just telling me about it, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe I could do that one day. And so then over the next couple of years, I did like one trip a year by myself for a couple of weeks. Maybe I went to Greece and I went to Morocco, and then I thought, okay, now I'm ready. After the XIPO, and I just like got a backpack full of stuff and a passport. I tried to hit mostly countries that didn't require visas, and just got on my way. So it was just like a backpack and it was a one-way flight to Germany. I had a friend who lived there. One-way flight to Germany, and then that was it.
Oh, the solo traveler, man. I like that. You just that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that was about 3 years ago. I got home.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were there for how long?
Well, it was like 5 months of travel.
That's cool.
And I mean, how many countries did you say
I don't know.
traveled?
Something, it's in my LinkedIn. It's like maybe 20, 25. It was like a blistering pace. I think that was another thing where like I could have done, one country for 5 months or three
Yeah.
countries, but I guess I wanted to just keep moving and keep, just like be on the road really. And I guess there was just as much as experiencing the country as it was about experiencing like being a journeyman and like being this nomad. Right? So like there was something about it where like you just were never that comfortable. I mean, if you got to sleep in the same bed for even 3 nights, it was like a unbelievable accomplishment. Like you never got that kind of stuff. But it was a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, my goal is to do one a year, which with 2 little kids is challenging enough. So
How old?
I have a 7 and a 2-year-old.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice. Yeah, that's great.
So coming back to Bento Box, do restaurants you see kind of using bentos in conjunction with some of the delivery systems like
Yeah,
a Uber Eats type company?
yeah, I think so. What we try to say is that you should use you should be on those. They're great for demand gen, where like in discovery, consumers that don't know about you
Right.
can order from you there. But then once they're your customer and they're coming to your website, you shouldn't link out to them, because that's like customers that you've brought yourself. You've earned them. You've earned that from the diner, and you should be keeping that 100% of that money. And so that's kind of what we tell restaurants. There's always some things where sometimes they want to just please, hey, you can order from wherever, but we try to tell them, hey, if you can save a lot of money if you have them order direct from you. And then if you don't do in-house delivery, we have a third-party fulfillment delivery as well.
Gotcha. Okay, so the goal is really for you to help them manage that customer relationship through your platform after, say, they ordered through Uber Eats and they become a client.
Exactly. That's what we want.
I've been seeing something more than I ever have in New York City. What I use like Seamless. And in the menu, as you're looking through Seamless, companies are saying in the description of the item, come directly to me, you'll get 20% off. Come directly to me.
I've seen that, but that's incredible.
Yeah, I saw that, and people are when we're all, even if we're ordering through Seamless, you'll get like something attached to the bag saying, next time order through us directly. And I'm like, that's a great idea. I was like, I understand there were some fees that were taken out, but I didn't know of the tremendous amount of fees, like 20-30% that are taken out of that.
Yeah, it's a strange. I have a lot of sympathy for restaurant owners, because I feel like there's a lot of people in the space that take a lot of value, and there's not a lot of people who are creating a lot of value for them. And it's really hard to survive in this changing environment, especially if you're like an old school restaurant owner that's owned a restaurant for a long time. You're trying to survive in this pandemic, and there's all these kind of companies trying to take advantage of you. And I'm proud to say I really believe that we're on the good guys' side. We're building software that we're not taking a commission. We're letting them keep their money, and we have like a high conversion rate on the pages, because we're design-based company. And we're seeing 10% plus of the visitors convert into orders, which is very high for industry standards.
Yeah, and what prompted me to start talking to reach out to Bento Box is I'm seeing it more and more. Right on the website there, and now it's made, and now talking to you, it's made me feel some assurance. It's almost kind of like that check for security, right? You get that like that antivirus check or Neurotin, I forget what it is. So you get that on there, so that's nice. But I mean, talk to us about, because we get into the nitty gritty here on the marketing stir. Who is an ideal client for you? Obviously, it's restaurants, but is a lot of the demand generation going back to that you're doing? Is it all B2B marketing that you're doing? Who are you reaching? What channels are you using? Email marketing, display. People love to know that.
We use a lot of search. I think we use search a little bit before. We always use search, but I think right now you're seeing a time period where restaurants themselves are doing a lot of research on technology offerings, more so than they ever have, right? So you're having this kind of massive, what I would call a pull forward of restaurants doing new websites, doing online ordering, wanting to have some kind of catering offering or private events. You're seeing like all of this interest right now. So like search is huge for us, but then we're also doing Facebook to drive that search. So we're seeing a lot of good evidence of running Facebook ads on big custom audience lists, and then having those people show up in searching for online ordering or website related queries, and then capturing that way. So kind of this like full circle. We even see kind of my favorite version, the person does a lot of research, where you'll see them, we'll have their information, we'll have ads showing on Facebook, then they'll go on search, then they'll go to one or two of our customer websites and click the bottom link made for by Bento Box. And then now they've seen some ads, they've read a little on our site, and they've seen some of our work. And I think those are some of our, those are some of the best leads we're gonna have.
And is search the primary vehicle, but are you trying connected TV or any of the new programmatic?
We tried
methods?
some of the stuff, but our like audience size, like our custom audience lists, just aren't big enough to get a good to serve. And then if we do a demographic thing, we get too many non-restaurant owners. So it hasn't really been available to us.
Got it. And within restaurants, are there certain kind of sizes or that you focus on?
I like to say no, but then of course the answer is like yes.
Probably.
I think that restaurants. I think we have a great offering for multi-concept restaurants. So you are a group that has like 5 different concepts. Bob's Bar, Bob's Burgers, Bob's Fish Grill, and you have a different website for each one, and you want to keep a cohesive theme, and you want to link to them together. But you want a distinct design for each of them. I think we can offer something that no one else can offer that way. Like if you look at Landry's, which is biggest hospitality group in America, I'm not saying that we make their sites, but go visit some of their sites. Go visit Rainforest Cafe, and go visit Joe's Crab Shack. If you're so I think that's like a core target. But then also I think that there's like really like small mom and pop shops that like want a high quality design. And that's something they can get from us. I think sometimes at our price point, which is between $100 and $200 a month, is a little high for the very, very low end restaurants that are kind of new to the business. But I think most people that have some amount that they're willing to spend on marketing, I think we're a good fit.
And I mean, I'm guessing with kind of the small restaurant owners, there's probably a need for more hand holding, and it's not just like they're going to your website and starting to set up a shop themselves, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing that maybe is not clear in what I said, but every single restaurant gets an onboarding manager, gets some design work. There is no self-serve. This is a white glove service. It's premium service for restaurants that. What I think most restaurants want is something that's not do-it-yourself. I think the do-it-yourself for the restaurant owner is very hard. I think that there's some that are savvy enough, and maybe they can have. But then what ends up happening is you have somebody that's like a neighbor or a friend that says they're going to do it for you, and they're taking a long time, and it doesn't look quite right. And if you want to make any updates, you have to talk to them about it, and then they do it, and they charge you on a per hour basis, and it's really not a great experience, And so I think that this is what we're offering is something that's like needed in the space. Now you're starting to see some competitors pop up that are kind of copycats in a sense. But I think long term you're going to see most restaurants use a service like this. I think long term.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think that a lot of restaurants are, like you said, they need that digital transformation piece, because they were like, oh no, everyone knows my pizza. They're just going to come in. I'm like, well, now your restaurant's closed, and they don't know if you're doing delivery anymore. They don't know if you're doing a takeout menu. So you need to communicate with them in some way. So I guess my question, is that we've talked to many industries and companies on this podcast, some that have gone in the wrong direction, unfortunately, some that have gone in the right direction. Are you seeing an increase in the demand for your service?
Yes. So I mean, we're much like the coronavirus for us all. It's been ups and downs. At times, I think we've seen a huge increase, huge pull forward of restaurants that need digital solutions, need websites or online ordering, especially direct online ordering. And so we have this like increase in lead volume, but we also have a lot of restaurants that are going out of business. and restaurants that are just struggling and then they're not really able to make it, or they're barely hanging by. So you do have an increase in demand, but then you also do have some downsides. So I think that each month is kind of a surprise, where it also depends on like local regulations, how much people are dining in, how much people are, and also it's not always just regulations. Sometimes people, the city or state might let people eat in restaurants, but people still aren't going. I think that's like one thing. In Manhattan now we have indoor dining, but every place isn't full. There's a lot of people that are still unwilling to go, and so each region is different. But I think it was like a net positive for several months, but I think now maybe it's a slight net negative, but it's not like we're not like down a ton, like some industries. It's not travel.
No, yeah.
It's not travel, and it's not Zoom.
Yeah, but it's like, yep, that makes sense.
Is that a good answer?
That's a very good comparison. Yeah. It's
for a couple months, it looked like we were Zoom, maybe not exactly, but let's say
another web conferencing, partner, not as big as Zoom.
Yeah. For a couple months, we looked like it was going like that, and then I think it settled in. And now I think it's, again, I have a lot of sympathy for restaurants. They're trying so hard right now to make it.
I know.
And there's just so many things being thrown at them. It's, it feels very unfair, and they're trying their best, and we're here to help them. But they're having rocky, and we're kind of along for the ride as things go up and down. But mostly up for us. But slightly.
Oh, that's good. I mean, you feel for the restaurants. Amin and I, we live in New York City, and if you travel to New York, you'll see restaurants are on sidewalks. They're building out, coming in. They're trying to make it as really nice as possible. They're having people do like graffiti art, and they're building these structures. And the minute it rains, you're like, oh no, you feel bad for them. It's getting cold in New York, and the heat lamps are maybe coming out, but then you're like, oh no, because I do feel. I went to a bar a few weeks ago for the first time indoor. I was sitting like 12 feet away from my friend, temperature checks. I think people were still a little scared here in New York to go inside. They were going outdoor dining. So that's kind of what we're faced with. And this is New York City. This is like the mecca of restaurants. You want to go to 12 Ethiopian restaurants, you normally could. And that's what people love about New York City. So yeah, we're definitely feeling it here. It's definitely different here. But that wasn't my point. My point is I want to understand more about what are some new services and solutions that you're offering for these restaurants moving forward, some changes that Bento Box had to make because of these very same changes I'm kind of referring to.
Yeah. I mean, so we launched Contactless Dining, where the restaurant diner from a QR code can pull up the menu on the phone, but then also order, put the table number in that they're in, and everything can happen without any contact with the server. And so there's that. We also, like, if you don't want to do that and you just want to have a QR code that pulls your menu up, we'll also help you with that, But the contactless dining has been really interesting, also because it can, for certain restaurants, we're seeing a lot more order capacity. They can handle a lot more customers than they previously could. There's just this like workflow that happens very quickly. They order on their phone, food comes. Order on their phone, food comes. So like one server can handle kind of 60 guests instead of like 15 guests.
I like it.
So yeah, and we launched that kind of, I want to say August. And we're getting some good traction. I think some restaurants are slow to adopt this. I think that they're afraid of that it doesn't have the same hospitality feel. So we're kind of navigating through that and getting them more comfortable. But I think long term, there's a lot of belief that this is an interesting way for customers to interact with the restaurant and some operational efficiency opportunity.
Gotcha. And then, being kind of at core a data company, we're always curious how companies are utilizing data sets. So are you helping in restaurants also kind of maintain and keep their CRM data updated and fresh? Is that part of the service that you're providing?
Yeah, I mean, the restaurant has a database with us, and I think that's one thing that's pretty useful is that you can you you have visitors that have come to your website. Maybe they filled out they gave their email like years ago, and now you can use that email to uh, send them a promo to get some online ordering. We have a couple features for if you're a new customer to a restaurant, first time order, you can set up an automated email campaign where it offers you a coupon code to come back on the second order. So, and then we also have what we call it's been a while. If a customer hasn't ordered for 30 days, it'll send them a promo, and then we have some loyalty coming down the pipe. So these are kind of features that I think a sophisticated restaurant would be able to handle on their own. But like for like a smaller restaurant, having like this kind of marketing automation for to drive orders is a pretty big win.
That's cool to know. I've been a frequent user of Uber Eats, but after what you said, I'm gonna pay closer attention to those brochures that sometimes come with the food saying order from our website. So
Yeah, just I myself also understand sometimes you just end up ordering from the Uber Eats or the Postmates, whatever. I get it, but
yeah,
just give them a try. Try once on their website direct and see if the experience is okay for you, and
yeah, for sure. And now, one of the staple questions we asked on the podcast it has to do with LinkedIn. So much based on your title, I'm guessing you get a lot of LinkedIn messages from
Yeah.
various people, right? So what's something that gets your attention, and what is something that really kind of pisses you off?
Well, okay. This one, I think if someone says, "Hey, I am a friend of blah blah blah. I know this person," and I actually know that person, and maybe they don't imply that they told me to message them, but they
Right.
have something that makes me think that they are like kind of like this like social proof kind of validation that this person is related or something. Um, that maybe they went to the same school as me, or they went to a university in the same area, or like something that gives that person some validation about the person, like this is something that this is someone I can trust. So I think that because I feel like there's so much spam stuff comes through, right? So what I'm looking for is like, can I trust this person, or will they waste my time? There's also I have, maybe this is naive of me, but I think if friend of a friend will have a little bit more decency to, but maybe not, but you hope. And then I think your other question was that what makes me mad, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What makes me most mad is when someone's like, "Are you not hitting your MQL numbers?" Or just like throwing jargon at me. SQLs over MQL times 16 is gonna go up 52% if you have this meeting with me. I'm like, go away. If you talk like this during the meeting, I'm gonna want to jump out of a window. Like,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, it's well, and I always think that sales leaders need to, well, hey, listen to our podcast, right? Because we ask this question to every guest, and we have our own business development reps here, SDRs. I say, not 3,000 emails to people. I say, look, listen to every episode of the Marketing Stir, and listen to every single VP of this, chief that. And we ask this question. This is how it's the personalized approach. That's what gets me to answer emails. That's what gets AJ to answer emails, throwing a compliment about him, and he will set up a meeting with you. That's
True.
how you do it here. But so, yeah, love the advice. I mean, because people ask me this all the time. This is the only other time we've had a comedian on the podcast as well. How did you get started in the stand-up comedy? And tell us a joke. No, I'm kidding. I would never do that. I know. I hate that so much. I would never ask that. Trust me. But tell me how you got into stand-up comedy, and has that helped you out in any of your roles?
yeah. A friend of mine, a person I met, a kind of acquaintance, I guess, and I walked into a bar and it was kind of loud. It was at do you remember Cabin on Second Avenue? They had a
Yeah.
Sean Patton and Chesley Calloway. I don't know if you know
Mhm.
that, but they had a show that was real long.
I love Sean Patton. Yeah,
What'd you say?
I love Sean Patton. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah, and so it was on Second Avenue. A Cabin was the name of the bar. It's closed now, but we walked in. It was loud, and so me and my friend thought, okay, hey, let's go to. There's a little back room. Let's go to the back room. And we said, and we were having a good conversation. Someone comes in, he says, hey, we're gonna have a comedy show here in a little bit if you guys want to stick around. I was new to New York, so I didn't know about this whole comedy show in New York thing. So I stick around. Sean Patton comes on, so funny, hilarious. So I thought, okay, I'll come back to that show again sometime. So I'm walking down the street, see that same bar, walk in, Donald Glover, pre-Child Camino, pre-Community.
Mhm.
But he was big on YouTube. I'd seen him on YouTube before, and so I was like, "Holy moly, Donald Glover! He's gonna be on Community." So I started going every week. And then one week, my friend was bombing. He was hosting. He was bombing, and he goes out to the audience. He's like, "Hey, tell me something to talk about." He was trying to close the show, and somebody said Kanye West because he had just cut off Taylor Swift. He went on the stage,
Mhm.
and I had a Kanye West story. I had a quick 30-second Kanye West story, and he let me come up to the stage.
Nice.
That bit, and the room was packed, and I got a huge laugh. And after that, I was just hooked.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then you got right up there. You didn't care. You didn't get.
I had a lot to drink that day, so that
That helps.
I think I also had a low bar because I think the rest of the audience thought I was like an annoying person in the audience. So when I got up, I had a low bar, and then I just hit it, and then it was great.
That's awesome. I like that. That's a great story. But now, we haven't been able to do stand up living in New York. I've been doing certain shows. I did a Leukemia Lymphoma Society gig recently for Mr. Ajay Gupta, pro bono, as my generous gift to him and that and the crew there.
I'm starting to feel like you didn't want to do it pro bono.
No, for you, of course, I do anything. Not anything pro bono. I need a paycheck anyway, but that it's been different. But what have you been doing? I love doing this podcast because it's a creative outlet. What have you been doing for creative outlets recently?
Yeah, that's a great. I started writing a newsletter. It comes out once a month about stocks.
All right.
And I make some stock picks, and I compare how I'm doing against the market, and I jib jab about something, or I try to be funny. It's a little bit finance, a little bit funny, a little economics, and I've been writing that. I don't know, it's still small, few hundred followers. Maybe each post will get like 1,000 views or something.
That's cool. What's the name of it?
It's called Mo Money Makhani.
Mo Money Makhani. I like it.
Makhani. And the website is mokhani.substack.com.
Love it. That's awesome. Yeah, you need the creative outlets. This podcast allows me to do that, and I get to talk to great companies and great people, and also companies find us and they're like, I've never heard of you guys before. Like, let's have a conversation. So it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really great. I had a great time. Maybe if we're still rolling, it's okay though. I'll tell you I had a great time.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, we are still rolling. A few more questions, but that's always good. Hey, that's a first also.
That's a first. That is a first.
3/4 of the way through, you're having a good time. I like it.
People are normally at this point saying, is it over yet?
Come on.
No, I'm just kidding. So I've been kind of coming back to the restaurant industry at large. Obviously, I live in Texas, so my views are a little bit skewed here because you go to a restaurant Friday night and there's like a 2-hour wait, right? So people look at the pandemic very differently.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. How I don't have that insight.
Yeah.
Is it so? I had read before that like it was like that for a while, but then I thought it subsided, and now.
I'm maybe about 10 days before. So the only thing I've personally been doing besides going to the grocery store is playing tennis, which is rated one of the safer things you can do. But yeah, we had a tournament, socially distanced and all that. And we decided for the first time in like months to go get some dinner and drinks. And we go to Twin Peaks, which is a big kind of sports bar chain here. And to our shock, they said, come back in 1 hour, 45 minutes. And I looked inside and I was like, wow, I don't think I want to come back.
Tons of people
So tons of
or
people,
spaced. Yeah. Oh,
totally,
wow.
totally packed. Now, granted, they were leaving one table open here and there, but that was more like for show than any kind of real basis for it. Now, I will say, I asked if we could go to the bar, and they said no. If your group has more than 4 people, you can't sit at the bar. So there are a few things here and there, but by and large, I would say things are back to more. If you're going out in Texas, outside of the roads where most people are still working from home, you wouldn't think there was a pandemic going on, right? So
Are you what part of Texas?
San Antonio,
Okay.
yeah, right in the city too. So it's not like we're in some rural Texas county here.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of, from your perspective, do you think once, even when there's a vaccination, do you think people are going to be ordering more from home, or do you think people are going to return in flocks?
Yeah. Well, so I think that there's a portion of the pre-pandemic. There was still a portion of ordering that was calling, where you call the restaurant and you this is still, I think in the United States, they were saying it's 30%, 40% pre-pandemic. I think most of that will go away. I think, maybe not, we'll see. So I think that this is so hard, because I think about this every day and I oscillate too. Sometimes I'm like, hey, delivery and takeout is here to stay at high levels. Sometimes I'm like, nah, people want to get back and eat in a group. I think, well, if you ever live in New York City, or if you've been here, people order all the time, 5-7 days a week, order in. I don't think the rest of the country really does that. Like, you you cook most of your meals at home Sunday through Thursday, and maybe Friday, Saturday,
Right.
you order something. I think the weekday ordering is the New York City thing, and I think other places are starting to pick it up. So maybe you'll see that. I think also some concepts like this idea of ghost kitchens, which was, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but I'll talk about it for a second. Ghost kitchens. A kitchen, a restaurant that doesn't exist, it doesn't have a physical place you can dine in. It's all off premise, and they basically live on the third-party delivery sites, and they could have, could be one kitchen that is like 5 restaurants. There's like a Thai restaurant and a Jamaican restaurant and a Italian restaurant, and they just cook the food there. If you went to a restaurant that offered all 3 of those cuisines, you would be like, no way. But if you saw 3 separate versions of this restaurant on Seamless, Uber Eats, you wouldn't really think twice about it. Hey, this have the same address, because you wouldn't know, you wouldn't check.
Right.
So I think the ghost kitchen was the thing they were talking about a lot over the last couple of years without that much traction. And now we're seeing a huge, I don't know if you guys know about this thing, but Chuck E. Cheese's has a ghost kitchen that they put on Seamless of their pizzas that is called like, some Italian, like Giovanni's Pizza. and
I didn't know that.
And then also I've seen Applebee's has a wing spot that's out of Applebee's kitchens. That's like a, wing, not like a, I don't know, wings and thing. I don't know. I'm making up.
Wow.
Wow, fascinating.
The idea of like kind of unbundling the restaurant and then chopping it up and kind of like, I think that's going to exist for a long time. But then, I don't know. I hope, this is what I hope. Is that restaurants are more resilient on the other side, and just all restaurants just have more tools in their toolkits to survive. Because the thing is, we talk a lot about the difficulty that restaurants have today, which is true, but restaurants are always going out of business. Restaurants have a high failure rate, even unrelated to pandemics. They have a high failure rate. And is there a way where there's enough tools in their toolbox where, oh, this isn't working, spin up a ghost kitchen. This isn't working, do this. Are there more, do restaurant owners, restaurateurs learn from the pandemic on how to survive in hard times in the future? I think that would be really great. I hope that's the case.
And I think that is an awesome closing statement. Now it's over, right? See, I love your enthusiasm. This has been awesome. I mean, to get to know you on a personal level, to get to know Bento Box. This is a different take on any of the topics that we've had on the podcast thus far. And Getbento.com is where you could find Bento Box.
Yep. Getbento.com.
Yep, getbento.com. That's Amin Makhani. He is the VP of Growth at Bento Box. This has been awesome. It flowed, and then you look up and boom, it's over. That's Amin. That's Ajay. I, of course, am Vincent. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.